Welcome back to the X231 saga, everybody. We've got a special job to do today. I've been working on some of the clutch parts. We temporarily stepped away from the radiator tanks because I need to make a trip to town today, and it's a good hour's drive in both directions, and I like to try to make that trip count for as much as possible. And we've got a very good clutch and brake shop up that way, so I decided to assemble all of the clutch related components for X231 so that I can drop them off there today, and they can work on them while I am continuing to work on the radiator portion. So we've got two major hurdles that we need to clear in order to turn X231 back into a rolling chassis. In other words, wheels on the ground. The first hurdle is everything that has to do with the front bolster so that we can get front wheels on. The second hurdle is everything with the flywheel and clutch so that we can join the engine to the rest of the chassis. So I've got some more hours to go on the bolster and the radiator system, but it would be good to have somebody working on the clutch components for me while I'm also making progress in that other area. So real quick, here are all of the components from X231. The flywheel and ring gear, of course, is 10X prototype. They differ quite a lot from the production flywheel and ring gear, but clutch disc and pressure plate are 445 production tractor clones. There are no differences in the actual clutch compartment, and that makes it a lot easier to actually get something done. This is X231's original clutch disc, and you can see they wore it right down to the rivets. It's completely run out, but fortunately, being that it's the exact same as a production 445, here's a clutch disc out of the parts tractor that is actually in pretty good condition. I'm going to bring them this disc and see if they want to reline it or what have you. It's got much better splines on the inside, so we'll bring that along today. And X231's pressure plate, for the most part, isn't horrible, but we've got some rust pitting on the actual plate itself. We've got some heat checks and some cracks starting. They'll decide what they want to do with that. Fortunately, the flywheel really isn't in bad condition at all, but I'll bring this along. I want to put a fresh grind on the clutch surface here, and we'll just address this center pilot later. It's a toss-up whether we addressed this first and then did the clutch portion, or if we do the clutch portion and then that. They both need done. So I'm going to load these three pieces into the car. Sorry. These three pieces into the car. This is going to stay home, and we'll head up to town, get those dropped off today. And a couple people have asked a pretty good question. They wondered why we have not yet moved on to the line bore reshaping of this repaired area. And that's because radiator system has been priority number one. Now that we've got another good radiator guy potentially on the line, we need to get all this stuff ready to take to him so that he can move ahead with either repairing or building us a new core. We can do the reshaping here at any time, but being dependent upon someone else to do certain jobs for you, you're kind of working around their schedule to an extent as well. And with all these radiator shops and really good radiator guys, they're all getting on in years. They're all getting close to retirement. This new guy is no exception. So we need to get this addressed as soon as possible because we just took so long to get to this point that my prior radiator guy has since retired. No one continued that business on. So yeah, as long as we have an opportunity to get some quality work done, we're going to make sure we can facilitate that as much as possible. So we don't usually hire work out, but in like the clutch resurfacing stuff and any radiator core stuff, we're not set up to do any of that here. So now's the time. Let's get it all done. If you all want to ride along today on the trip, we're about to leave here shortly. So we'll go see some sights today and get a few things done. This guy here's got a little Fordson Yard Art tractor parked up there on the hill. And there's a Farmall M that sits next to this body shop. It's been there ever since I can remember. It's never moved. Yeah, there it is. Loader on it. And this over here was the site of an old cement plant up until 1970s or 80s when they tore it down. and the ground was so polluted that they put this chain link fence up, and nobody's been in there ever since. But they've got a lot of dirt work going on now. Reclamation, I think a lot of cleanup. I don't know if it's sold, but definitely doing something back there. In here amongst the crane booms where they're working on segments of the elevated interstate, we have Lakehead Clutch and Brake right up here on the corner. Taking things here for quite a few years. Dig some of it out for you here. Yeah. All right, so be looking at a grind on here. Okay. This is actually off of a prototype Minneapolis Wayne tractor, so that's second stop of the day. Caterpillar dealer, the toy store. Toy store. Oh, train spotter. This is where the CN hauls taconite to the ore docks. Here they are. Yep, they're coming down the hill. Yep, full loads of ore. You can still see the steam coming off of them right from the mines. Each one of those little hopper cars has 140 tons in it. It's some pretty dense stuff. The neat thing is you can still see the old DM and IR logos on the cars. That stands for Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range Railroad. So these are really old cars, but still in service. They do everything that they need them to do. Here's another landmark. That is a narrow front Super M parked in there. She's classy. And back home again. So, back on track. I know we've skipped around quite a lot today, but some days are just like that. So we can start working on the grill screens, and these are very similar to what would have been found on an earlier model ZB. Remember, X231 is based off of the ZB. So, yeah, they provide quite a bit of the core support between the bottom tank and the top tank. And this is where we also retain a lot of the styling from the prior model ZB. The whole radiator top tank is a production model ZB tank. That's why we've got the 10A casting number back there that a few viewers have flagged. And these flat, horizontal slat grill panels are very similar to what was found on the earlier model ZB. So we'll take a look at this stock photo of a ZB. You can see it's got the same radiator top tank. We've got very similar flat slat front grills, and there are 17 horizontal grill openings in those panels. Now we transition to the archive photo of X231. You can see we've got the same radiator top tank, same headlight mounting, and very similar grill panels. The main difference here is X231 has 19 horizontal openings in those panels. And we can count them out right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And once again, that accounts for that height difference in X231's radiator core. The earlier ZB core was a little bit shorter. Also remember that because X231's bottom tank is deeper this way, they had to take that into account when they fit that shallower top tank on. So you can see where the witness mark from the top tank ends right here. And they made up this spacer bar that went in between the panels and the back of the top tank to provide solid mounting. And we have a slightly modified production ZB fan shroud tacked on behind all of it. And to begin working these over, they've got this friction strip in the center that they both slide into. There we are. That's quite a piece when you look at it. Very similar to what would be found on a ZB. Of course, it's just a little bit longer to suit these panels. It started out as a flat piece. You can see where they bent it in on itself here, and then the two halves go up, and then they each 90 out like that. I would have liked to seen the machine that actually put all those contours in there. On each side, we have headlight brackets. These are just like what would have been found on ZB, regular Series Z, Series R, UB, UD. They were pretty common for back in the day. I am going to be sourcing a new set because you can see they've both been snapped off and welded. You can look at this one right here. Four very ugly welds. I don't know how you broke both of them off, and I also don't know how they broke a piece of metal that was this thick without completely destroying a much thinner piece like that it was attached to. Thankfully, it doesn't look like a lot of damage was done. This panel is pulled out quite a bit here where that heaved, and when they welded it, I think they actually tacked it to the panel a little bit. So we've got some flattening to do there. This panel actually still looks pretty good right here. So we'll get both of these old, and that one's ready to fall off anyway. We'll get both those old brackets off of there to start. Thankfully, the headlight bracket that they almost welded to the panel didn't stick. So we've just got a little bit of cleanup to do right there. But yeah, as I suspected, it pulled a lot of material here when it bent. So we've got quite a bump here. We've got a divot there. We can work that out. This side looks like we're starting to crack on either side of that hole. We can work that out. We've got a lot of straightening to do on the slats. They were running into plenty of things with this poor tractor, but I think all of that's fixable. But before I can really do any more metal work here, I need to get all the old paint and rust off of these panels. So that means we've come full circle. You can see behind me, we're just about out of daylight for another one, but we began the day cleaning metal with the grinder, and we are going to wrap the day cleaning metal with the grinder. So keep banging here until dark and see how far we can get. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hope to see y'all back again next time.